Good afternoon and good morning to all of you who are joining this webinar from Indonesia and the UK. Welcome to the UK-Indonesia English Partnership Series. Today is the third day and the final day of a three-day event organized by the British Council Indonesia and the UK Department for International Trade, taking the theme, Working Together on Enhancing ELT Capacity in Indonesia. I'm Francis Sinanu, I'm your moderator today. I'm a lecturer at the English Language Education Department, Universitas Kristen Satya Indonesia, and I'm also a board member of ITEL, Indonesia Technology Enhanced Language Learning. ITEL is helping the British Council Indonesia to organize this event. If you just joined us today and you missed the previous sessions of the series, you can go to the British Council Indonesia YouTube channel and watch the recording there. I think Maria will help to copy and paste the links in the chat box for you to set the reminder and watch later. Before we begin the session, just a few reminder that we are now live on YouTube. And for those joining us here on Zoom, please note that your comments are recorded and might be rebroadcasted. So welcome again. It's so interesting to see teachers from all over Indonesia and also from Egypt. I see there. What a wonderful experience to be able to connect with each other in this event. Today's session will focus on sharing innovation in English language teaching and exams in the UK and Indonesia. We have two separate sessions with a range of UK ELT companies, from well-known mainstream publishers through startups and specific English specialists, such as medical English. So for those interested in ESP, you might stick for the first session. And they will present innovations in remote teaching and assessment. In addition, there will be an overview of the rapidly developing ELT private sector in Indonesia as well. So welcome. We have 100 and almost 40 participants here. We're still gonna have people signing in, but we will start with the first session today. And we're happy to have Rupert Daniels, the Director of the Creative Lifestyle and Learning Cluster at the UK Department for International Trade. Good morning to you, Rupert. Rupert covers a wide range of sectors from sports, film, I think, television, music, fashion, and of course, education. He works with teams across government to promote international trade. And he used to be the Global Marketing Director at Cambridge University Press and has held senior roles at Arsenal, if you are a football fan, and have over 20 years of global leadership experience across sales, marketing, production, media, digital, data, and branding. Welcome, Rupert. Time is yours.
Well, thank you very much, Francis. And yes, it's a pleasure to be with you all today, and it's great to see so many people signing up. I've been looking in the chat bar as well, and as you said, Francis, people from Egypt, all across Indonesia, Bali, all the way through to Cardiff, and here in the UK. And so it's great to be here. And firstly, I'd like to say thanks to colleagues in DIT and at the British Council. And Indonesia's Ministry of Education, Culture, Research and Technology, and excellent representative organisations from both of our countries who've helped pull together this really crucial series of UK-Indonesia ELT events, of which today is the final version. So we also have a large number of UK and Indonesian delegates viewing today, and I know you said, Francis, it's also on YouTube as well. So thanks to all of you for attending as well. It's great to see so many people signing up over the course of the 3 days that we've been running these sessions together. You heard Francis give a bit of an introduction about me. I do cover a lot of different sectors for the UK government, film, television, music, etc. But the thing that brings it all together is English language. And before I joined the civil service, I worked for 8 years as the Global Marketing Director at Cambridge University Press, specialising in English language teaching. So I've had the pleasure to visit Indonesia and spent lots of time out in the region as well, working with colleagues from Cambridge and across the British Council and other organisations and ex-partners and customers from my time at Cambridge. So it's great to be back working in ELT and still running sessions like this, because this is really where my passion lies. And I have to say, I was fortunate enough to see the global premiere of the new Bond film as well. And if you think about UK culture, we've been waiting for three different postponed events for the new Bond film to come on the screen, and it's really exciting to kind of blend all these areas. But the key to understanding and the key to working together is through the English language. And I've been listening into a number of the different sessions that we've had across the few days of these sessions, and it's great to see how the UK is working across government, across institutions, across the globe to assist with ELT drives across academia, across industry, and most recently including big deals which we've worked on with Vietnam, with Brazil. And this kind of needs to be applied across all areas of education, including ELT and industry. But what I'd really like to focus on is on the regional basis for you guys in Indonesia and in the wider region. Our recently acquired dialogue partner status with ASEAN signals a really important commitment to the UK, to the ASEAN area, and was a real landmark in the UK's tilt towards the Indo-Pacific. So it's always been a big focus, but we're really committed to working really closely with partners in the region, and particularly with the ASEAN grouping. So colleagues here, including the British Council, are really excited by this. We look forward to collaborating with Indonesian colleagues in ASEAN on a range of very important education issues, of course, including ELT, but right across the whole broad range of education. So earlier this week, we heard about one of the initiatives, I think from Sir Steve Smith, about a digital innovation grant, which will help to forge UK-Indonesian partnerships, merging ELT with EdTech so that we can really innovate online methods of teaching. And this was followed by sessions on sharing innovations in English language, teacher professionals. And today, the final of this series, we'll hear from a panel of key UK and Indonesian stakeholders about the kind of innovations in English language teaching and exams across different subsectors, whether it's business or medical, which utilize a range of mediums and interventions from film to AI-powered technology. And it's really exciting stuff. And that's why I was saying earlier, I'm somehow in the middle of all of this with the English language teaching, but with AI, with immersive technology, with film, with television. These are all great tools for learning. So it's really exciting times to be in the middle of all of this. And I'm really looking forward to the panel session today. So as you know, I think that the day is split across two sessions. The first, we're going to cover online English language teaching and learning. And the second part of the day is going to cover innovations in English and exams from notable UK ELT organisations who have extensive experience in Indonesia. And I know this because I see one of my ex-colleagues, I can see Alan Davenport is on the line, is going to be taking part. And I work closely with Alan and other great teaching professionals who've got fantastic knowledge. So I'm really looking forward to seeing this programme with Alan and other panel members. So I really hope that our esteemed speakers and the wider audience find these events valuable, informative and productive, and that they help to cement a foundation for a longer term engagement, networking, and deeper links between our two countries. So DIT, we've helped to create a booklet which profiles the UK ELT organisations, and I would really urge you to reach out to them after these sessions and to develop joint proposals for the Digital Innovation Grant or for any other longer, wider term ventures. And we certainly are here to assist. We're here to help. We really want to make sure that we can drive growth, we can drive innovation, and drive a spirit of partnership which lasts for many, many, many years. So I think I'm going to stop talking now. You've heard enough from me. I'm sure everybody just wants to hear from the panel. So thank you very much. Really excited about today and very honoured to be asked to make these opening remarks. So thank you, Francis. I shall hand back to you now.
Thank you, Rupert. Ladies and gentlemen, it is official. We can start the session now. So we're going to have the first speaker for the first session, and we will be introduced to the landscape of the private sectors in ELT in Indonesia, both face-to-face and online. And it's my great pleasure to welcome Vinita Dewi. Vinita is a lecturer at Universitas Pendidikan Indonesia, and she's also with me in ITAL. Silahkan, Tevin.
Okay, thank you very much, Frances, for the introduction. And good morning, good afternoon, everyone. And thank you to British Council Indonesia for involving me in such a great event. Let me share my screen. And while I'm sharing my screen, I think I need to make a kind of disclaimer first, because my presentation will be full of information on commercial products, logos, and names of commercial institutions working in the private sectors of English language learning. Yet this presentation is not for commercial purposes. I aim at giving the portrait, especially for the UK audience, on the landscape of informal sectors of English language learning situation in Indonesia context. So, however, I think the Indonesian audience can also benefit from this information and see the myriad of non-formal option that your students might have access to. So my talk will be covering the private sector of ELT in Indonesia, and I will discuss who they are, what kind of services that they provide, and then the target group and some innovation that they have in each institution. So these 5 categories will guide me through my presentation. And then I'm going to start with my first category of private sectors in English language learning. That is the well-established. Who they are? Well, actually, they are those institutions who've been around in the business for more than 20 years, I guess. And most of them are located in big cities. They have native speakers of English, and some of them have loyal customers. Like, for example, if the parents used to study in that particular English course, then they tend to send their kids to the same English course. They're very loyal. And probably before the pandemic, they have a kind of fixed schedules, like twice a week or 3 times a week. And they also provide the kind of in-house teacher training, so that they have a kind of standardized quality of their teacher. In terms of location, we can see that most of these well-established are in Java Island. Some we can find in Sumatra, a few in Kalimantan and Sulawesi. And I think, to the best of my knowledge, not too many in the eastern part of Indonesia. Let's have a look at them. Some of them, we have international brand like this council. During the pandemic, they have this slogan, learning from the comfort of your home. So they provide some online courses with different kinds of programs, and also catering to different kinds of different age group. So they've been moving, I guess, from the face-to-face conventional program to online, I guess, even before the pandemic. There is also English First too. It's pretty well known, and they have a kind of program which give option to the learners, whether they want to access online only or the blended learning, the combination of online and offline, and some access to resources, unlimited resources. Another one, this is a kind of the new kids on the block. It's only Indonesia, arrived in Indonesia in 2007, but gain a lot of popularity among teenagers, young professionals, because they have they provide not only courses but also community and then social club where people can get together. They have the same interests and they can speak English with those people who have the same interests. I guess this is pretty amazing because in Indonesia, English is not spoken as the first language, second language, so it's not easy to find a place, a community where we can speak English outside the classroom. And we have an array of English language courses. This is Indonesian brand. ILF is pretty well known as a test center, a place where we can improve our IELTS, but also they have a kind of teacher training program, TBI, LIA, and ILP. If you are interested to know more, you can access my slide later and get more information. So basically, they provide programs like general English, conversation classes for students and professionals, and also test preparation. The innovation here, most of them have been transforming to digital learning, whether it is full online or blended learning modes. Well, enough rambling about the well-established one. Now I'll be moving on to the university language centers. In terms of location, the university language centers is spreading throughout the nation. You can see that they are available also in the eastern part of Indonesia, because almost university have this commercial services for the students, for lecturers, and also for publics. Usually they provide services, not only general English conversation, but also test preparation, and they become the test center for students who need the kind of certificate of TOEFL as the requirement before they graduate from the university. And I will just show you some of the university language centers because there are so many. This one is from Universitas Pendidikan Indonesia. They provide not only English language course, but also some other languages like Indonesian, Japanese, Korean. They also become language testing center for different kinds of tests. Another interesting one is from Institute Technology Bandung. Besides providing the common program, they also have kind of journal writing, textbook reading, and even presentation skills. This is important for students and even lecturers. I'm just going to show you one more thing from Universitas Indonesia, because I found some interesting courses like legal English, English for journal reading. So they have like uniqueness because it's catering to the English for academic purposes. So they think that they can provide catering the needs of these academics. Okay, number one, number two. Now let's move on to number three. This one is the locally owned. They usually located in small cities. It's like filling the needs. The places which are not catered by number one and number two, catered by number three. And they are usually pretty flexible. They have varied programs catering to the needs of the surroundings. And some of them provide a kind of home visit teachers. I'm going to show you some. I believe that there are many that I cannot mention one by one, and I pick some that I personally know, like this one, Travelia. I picked this one because it's pretty unique. It combined traveling and English course. So once in a while, they bring the kids to some tourist resorts, some interesting places, and there is a chance that they can meet foreigners, and they can practice their English, try their confidence to speak in the quote unquote real life situation. Another is Skybridge and Bumblebee. They both are similar. They have some kind of partnership with schools. They provide extra class for schools like this, or outdoor activities, and also they provide a free English course for those who cannot afford to join English course, or free teacher training. Another one is Oak Tree. This one is from Kalimantan. The course is not really big. They used to be using face-to-face interaction, and then the owner mentioned that at the beginning of the pandemic they have to close the class, and then finally they can get back to the business with the online situation. So everybody's doing their innovation at their own level. One more, this is interesting. I found it in Telegram group. So there is one man, Indonesian, opening a Telegram group helping people to improve their TOEFL score. And you can see that the member of the group reaching 25,000. He gives lessons for free through Zoom meeting, limited Zoom meeting, of course. And then he also have a YouTube channel. The subscriber reach, probably it's so small, but it's 3.6K. So it's amazing that people keep sharing, giving free knowledge, and then helping other people to improve their English competency. Okay, 1, 2, 3, no. Number 4. This is pretty phenomenal in Indonesia, the immersion program. So let me tell you a bit of the story from this. So there is one city in the eastern part of Java, Kediri, and then back in 1976, there was one language center with only 6 students. But then throughout the time, the language center in this place growing up to 200 language centers in this village, only in one small place. It's pretty well known. It becomes a domestic tourist resort in Indonesia. Students go for holiday there. They spend for a week or 3 months having an English course in an immersion program, a full day English, and they get the opportunity to practice their English inside the classroom and outside the classroom, because it is said that the whole village can speak English. Probably not the perfect English, but it's good enough for survival, for communication. Let's have a look at this place. It is called Kampung Inggris, or English Village. It even attracted the previous UK ambassador. He went there, and then it is mentioned on the news that some of the teachers were trained by British Council. You can see the situation is pretty, it looks like village. And then right now, the first language center have got 96 alumni. And why is it keep growing? Because some of the alumni opening another language centers there. So, well, it becomes pretty famous. And now this Kampung Inggris also goes online. So if you search on Google, and you can find some kampunginggris.co providing online lesson for students. All right, now this is the last one. It's startup, the edtech company, which gained popularity when, of course, after the pandemic, it gains more popularity. And then actually some of them didn't start the business in English language teaching. Some of them provide extra courses, enrichment for students for many different courses. But then this kind of startup usually start within 2 or 3 years. They are digital or mobile based. They provide flexible learning, provide access to many resources for the students, and they can learn anytime, anywhere, 24/7, and it's more affordable price. Some of the famous names as, for example, Ruang Guru. Ruang Guru start the business in all subjects, but now recently they opened English Academy, especially for learning English. So you can see that they provide different kind of services for different age group, and then they have the international curriculum, and also promises for native English speakers, teacher. Another is Cakap. This is also interesting because this startup provide different types of class. Do you want to study in a small group? Is it in a big group? Whether it's private, one-on-one with the teacher. And then the curriculum is pretty reliable because they have the partnership with Sanata Dharma University, one of the famous university in Indonesia. And if we look at the review on the apps, it gains a lot of review with good stars. So I think it's pretty good. English Breaking and Lister and Mau Belajar Apa also provide similar, but everyone's got their uniqueness. This one, Zenius, is I think they try to cater the K-12 students because they inline the content of the course with the national curriculum. So they provide content similar to the textbook used at schools. They have animated video using Bahasa Indonesia when they explain some concept of grammar or some concept of text, because Indonesia used gender-based approach. So I think it will help students to gain better score at schools. Well, so I think that's all that I can say about the landscape of private sector in Indonesia. We can see that the digital innovation will keep spicing up the future of English language learning in Indonesia, and I believe that the future is now actually. So we need to think about this is the kind of access that the students can get when they want to learn English, especially for those parents who can't afford this kind of English courses. They might visit these courses because probably the curriculum, the English hours in our national curriculum is not enough. So that's how I close my presentation. Thank you. If you want to get access to my slide, you can get to the link or scan this QR code. I'm passing back the screen to Francis.
Thank you, Tevin. I hope that gives a better idea, especially for UK participants, on the landscape of the private sectors of ELT in Indonesia. Now we go to the next speaker. I would like to invite Nigel Killick, the Managing Director and founder of realllyenglish.com Ltd. Nigel speaks Bahasa Indonesia, so I don't know. Are you going to present in Indonesian or in English, Nigel?
Ya, terima kasih Bu. Saya belum bisa bahasa Indonesia. Saya harus belajar. Tapi mungkin saya belajar sama dengan student saya sedikit sendiri, and then saya ada guru setiap 2 minggu.
Okay.
Tapi mohon maaf, saya belum bisa dalam bahasa Indonesia. Mungkin waktu lain saya akan cari yang kata-kata yang benar untuk presentasi. Tapi hari ini dalam bahasa Inggris.
Over to you, Nigel.
Very much. Sorry, yes, that's the end of my Indonesian. Let me just get the slides up. So, thank you very much, everyone. Good afternoon. I just thought it would be useful, and thank you for the opportunity to present on what I've learned in 20 years of digital English training. I started Really English 20 years ago with the idea or the understanding that the best way to learn English is with a good teacher. And there's no question of that, and that remains the same today. The problem is that most of the world's population cannot get access to teachers who speak English well enough to teach them. And therefore, we have to look at different methods of providing English to those kinds of students. So you may think it odd that I got started in Japan, but I got started with the Educational Testing Service, and they introduced me to their partners in Japan. And although Japan is a very modern economy, it has a real problem with English, that most of the learners of English graduate from university at best at A2. So there's a significant issue for Japanese learners. So we got started there with ETS, and we focused on that market for 10 years. And a lot of my learning has come from that aspect. We then moved to China and to ASEAN, and in 2013 to Indonesia. So what I want to do is just give you a kind of view of what we've learned and why we think it's so important. So first of all, some background. We've had 1.5 million learners in Asia. 75% of those have completed their 30 or more hours of study, in most cases more than that. And most of that is self-study. And you'll be aware that the critical issue for self-study is completion rates. And so we very much focused on getting our students through. There are a lot of companies that it's kind of I sell, you buy, goodbye. But in our case, we really want to get students through, and we'll look at some of the ways that we've done that. But we also have to acknowledge that self-study is a lonely and difficult road. Most of language learning will be done in self-study. I speak a little bit of Indonesian. I speak a little bit of French. You know, those things you learn, and a teacher helps you learn them, but fundamentally you have to learn vocabulary yourself, you have to learn grammar, you have to do reading yourself. So a lot of the miles, the heavy learning miles, are done in self-study, whether they're done in homework, textbooks being corrected by teachers, or now if they're digital, they're done in self-study. And the way that we've got students through this, most of all, is to show them how they can be successful. We take them through a lesson, they achieve success in that lesson, they think they're going to be successful and can do English, we recognize that and they carry on. And it comes from understanding that most of our students, by the time they come to us, by the time they're 16, 18, 20, 30 years old, they've spent a lot of time learning English and many have failed. And that's particularly the case in my experience in Japan, but I think it's also the case in Indonesia. And our question and our challenge then is how to undo that mindset. Very often these are very smart students, but they just are failing in English. And so our challenge has been to make English accessible. So we focus on skills. We undo some of the damage that many students have had. So things like translating every word when you read, subvocalizing, those kinds of issues. We want to get your reading speed up. We want to help you listen more effectively, speak and write, and all of those things. And I promised to Colm this would not be an tech-heavy presentation, and it's not, because we only use technology for pedagogy. So pedagogy drives and educational values drives everything we do, and we use technology in order to enhance that, not as some kind of marketing post. So what is the crucial issue? Well, the crucial issue for us is time. Time is the major competitor to learning. Let's face it, I'm asking people to come and learn English, which they've struggled to do for many years on a small learning device or on a computer. They'd much rather be with their family, with their friends, going to movies, as Rupert said, lots of fun things that they could be doing rather than studying English. So we have to make sure that we are incredibly efficient and that we get them to learn in a really effective and efficient way. And this comes down to this rather kind of silly slide, and my apologies that neither of these players play for Arsenal, but Lionel Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo, two of the greatest footballers ever, did not learn to play football by watching other people play football. They have to do it. They have to kick a ball. And in English, whatever other tools you may use, you are going to have to answer questions. You have to do exercises. You have to repeat these things. You have to build on your learning. And so that's really what we've tried to achieve. Studying more of the right thing. We use a little bit of analysis and assessment to decide what that is. Getting you to do it more often, so 10 minutes a day, 20 minutes a day, gets to better outcomes, and that we've proven. And our key thing is efficiency. The maximum improvements with the minimum time spent on task is what we are trying to do. One of the problems we're trying to solve is this problem here, that English has typically been for two types of students. One is the wealthy, who can go to private language schools, who can get access to native teachers, who can travel, who can have all of those great advantages. And the other are the self-motivated, who will be able to train themselves and work through themselves and may be able to get access to teachers. But there is a mass of people out there, a mass of students who are less wealthy, who are less able to do those things, who are less motivated, and we need to help them. We need to remove the inequality that comes from those two things, that wealth or that ability to spend money on education, and that self-motivation, which, let's face it, not everyone is born with. So what we've tried to do is make English accessible. It's available on the mobile phone. It can be projected on screens in rural villages. People can believe and can see themselves improving. Every lesson is designed in a classroom way to make people learn through the lesson, to review what they've done, and hopefully in the end, they turn out and they go, oh, I can do that. And so they start another lesson, and then we're in a virtuous cycle. And we want to make it affordable. That's absolutely critical to everything we do. The other thing we do, actually, I would add, is that we white label our solutions. So education is about trust. So we work with institutions. We don't care about our brand. The student cares about the brand they have chosen, the institution they have chosen to come to. And so we white label our products under that institution's banner, because we're asking students to study hard. They need to believe it. It's helpful if they trust the institution and they know the institution, and they don't know really English probably. So here's the other thing we've done. In Japan, we supported very many teachers who did not speak English. And I say that because they write to us and they say, we don't speak English well enough. We need your help. We need your support. So we basically created structures and empowered teachers to be mentors and supporters and coaches where they can't really teach English effectively because they don't have control of the language that they need. And I think that's one of the big changes, or I hope that's one of the big changes that technology will bring. It will enable teachers to be supporters, to get a lot of the self-study work done, and then they can focus on the added value part, which is clearly speaking, which is by far the hardest thing. It's by far the most important thing. And it's the thing that tech is worst at doing. So can we, by helping teachers to use our systems, use our platforms, even if they're not confident in English, can we get them to help their students improve? And that's what we've done, and that's what we've really focused on. So it's led us to create a style of lesson which is very simple, and it's very kind of classroom based. You know, we present the key language, we practice it, and we review it. And it all comes from the classroom, which remains the best place to learn, but we have to take some of those values and bring those into an EdTech world. So our background is from the classroom. The first people I brought into Really English were from International House, a big school in London, teacher trainers, because we didn't want to be publishers publishing textbooks online. We wanted to take the values of the classroom and the support that created. So there are really three models that we think work in the new world, assuming that digital is going to be part of it, which I think most people would now assume. The first one is self-study. We always provide a mentor or a coach. So if people can't afford to have teachers, or the teachers aren't good enough at English, we have people who will email. It's a very simple service. It can't be very expensive because we're trying to keep the cost very low, but it does encourage people to carry on. And they know that someone's there with them when they're studying and when they hit that wall of learning that we've all hit. Then there's enriched self-study, which is where we hope the teachers will support. The teachers on the ground, even if their English isn't great, they can encourage, and your homework, please do it, because all the results are available and they can see all of those results. And then there's the blended program, and we have a lot of content, blended content PDFs that we provide for free to our partners. This is all our material. This is a textbook from a partner in Japan, but we provide it all and it can be edited. So you can make it have a very local feel and therefore teach it in the classroom better. Meanwhile, it's integrated with one of the digital lessons. I'm not going to go through this slide. I don't have much time, but I just wanted to show an example, and you can look at it later, of a college in rural China. Well, in China, Chengdu, it's not very rural, my apologies, but where we've succeeded in achieving this. And it's been mandated, it's part of a course, but the course completion rates are excellent. But they're even more excellent in the campuses where the teachers were more involved. So what we've shown very clearly in Chengdu here is that 93% completion rate is achieved. And in fact, people go way through that most often. And in Minyang, it's 70%. And in Chengdu, there are much more teacher involvement. So it shows you how much more effective that can be. And it's also used as a way of evaluating teachers, not on the ability of their students, but on the study profile. Because if students are studying, they're doing things, they will improve. And we've got those metrics and some nice comments from them there. And I'll just go through. So for us, a teacher working with the students to ensure that they understand and complete a high quality digital program. And there are others apart from us, don't believe it's just us at all. There are many, but we believe that's the fundamental secret to success in a world where many people cannot come to private language schools, cannot get access to really highly qualified and trained teachers. If they can, that's the best way of learning, absolutely. If they can't, then let's create a way and a method that makes it available and accessible and affordable for everyone in the world. Back to this point earlier, English is critical. We know it changes people's lives. We know they can get better jobs. That's why we're all in this business. But what we want to do is we want to level it up. We want to make it achievable. We want to democratize English and make it available to everyone. Thank you. Terima kasih banyak. Mohon maaf saya tidak bisa dalam bahasa Indonesia. Mungkin waktu lain. Sampai jumpa lagi. Thank you very much, Francis.
Thank you so much, Nigel. If you scroll up in the chat, people are saying that you're saying you're not good in Bahasa Indonesia, but you're very good. One of participants saying, ini mah udah fasih, like this is good. If you say this is not good, you're Indonesian. Thank you so much for sharing your presentation about reallyenglish.com. And now we go to Verada Sucharipul. She's the CEO and founder of FilmDo, and she's gonna share the innovation that she's been doing with FilmDo. Verada, time is yours.
Thank you. Can you see my screen? I just want to make sure.
Yes, perfect.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Varada, the CEO and co-founder of Filmja Academy. I'm here today to talk to you about some really interesting innovations happening, especially in the English teaching and English learning space using film and video. But before I start, I would also like to say something in Indonesia.
Ooh.
Saya juga anak Indonesia. Ketika saya masih kecil, saya tinggal di Jakarta. Saya sangat senang berada di sini hari ini. Terima kasih.
Wow.
So, what I would like to talk today is actually a really interesting phenomenon. And that is actually that at the moment, there's a very big problem of students no longer being disengaged. The average Gen Z student now spends at least 4 to 6 hours a day watching online content, YouTube videos, Facebook video, TikTok. It's very hard to connect to them. Traditional teaching methods like textbooks, written exercise, they no longer connect. But what does? Films and video. Films and video can connect to these students, relate to them, and of course, help them to become more engaged and to learn better. Really interesting studies all show, for example, this recent study by Dozebo, that 81.6% of people now actually expect to use more film and video in their language learning. Movies also have a very unique capacity to help create empathy for people and places we don't know and have not experienced. And that's why films and of course videos are really powerful to inspire that connection, that empathy, and to give that context. This is a quote that I really, really like. Learning a language without the cultural framework in which it exists is like cooking ethnic food without the spices of the region. You just simply will remove all of the flavor from the language. And that's why when you're just learning languages using apps or doing English with just exercises, you don't have the context, the cultural nuance, which really inspires the student to want to learn a lot more. Some of you may know Stephen Krashen. He's a famous linguist based out of California. He actually did a lot of study into how we learn languages. And again, he said this best. We acquire language in one way and only one way, when we get comprehensible input in a low anxiety environment. So basically, comprehensible input is the way how children learn. Naturally, every day you start to understand a little bit more, you grow your vocabulary. And of course, you learn best when you're having fun, it's low anxiety, just like the way children learn. And that's what films do. Films, you can help to understand a little bit more every day, especially when you're immersed in that. And it's entertaining and it's in a low anxiety environment. And that's why students, when they're cramming for their exercises, they may pass their exams, get good grade, but the language acquisition doesn't stay very long. So why is film and video the future of learning? I mentioned that it's actually the way the modern students now learn, connect, and engage with content. Films and video also supports multimodal learning with all the senses, hearing, seeing. It supports complex understanding of more deeper issues. Films can also be used to create discussions and a talking point. Even shy students at the end of the lesson, they have something to talk about when they see a film, and they can give their own opinion or having fun talking about really interesting stuff. Films and videos are also great at improving listening and pronunciation skills. And most of all, it's just so fun and engaging that students love doing their homework. These are some of the really interesting sites that I would love to share with you that you can use to create your own film and video lessons. On the left-hand side, we have some companies that allow you to create games and lessons from films and video. You might be asking why I put TikTok there. That's because that's where a lot of the younger students are spending time there. And we've seen some really innovative teachers now actually using TikTok to teach. They're creating little bite-sized lessons that the students can just watch on their phone. At the same time, students can even be doing their homework on TikTok now, and their friends and peers can be commenting and sharing. So actually, you can use where the students are to create lesson tools as well. On the right-hand side is tools more specific for English video resources. So this is where you will find English video lessons already created. There's a number of different sites. Some of them also have more detailed work lesson or lesson plan, like Film English. ISL Collective is a great site. It's somewhere in between both. You can create your own lessons, but there's also many English video lessons for you to use as well. And of course, there's Film Academy, that's us. We actually started as a film distribution platform. We have one of the world's biggest English learning catalog, and we saw the potential to expand into English teaching and English lesson using film and video. So we've launched Film Academy, which teachers can of course now use to turn any film and video, including YouTube videos, Vimeo videos, your own videos, into an interactive game and lesson in just a few seconds. And this is the interesting space we're now seeing, which is where we can use content, films, and combine with some really exciting educational tools to create games and lessons. So a little bit about us. Well, you can see how easy the interface is to create games and lessons in just a few minutes from any film and video, and students love it too. You can use it in classroom mode, where students can watch a film and play a game in class together at the same time. Especially during COVID, they can be used in online lessons, whereas hundreds of students can even watch a game and answer questions, really interactive, really make lesson fun, helps the student engagement. And of course, the same game and lesson can also be used for homework and independent study. So let's watch a video together to bring it all to life a little bit more. Let me just put this up. Play the video.
Do you want to use film and video to engage your language students? Learning a new language is no easy task. Using traditional textbooks and flashcard exercises to learn can often feel repetitive and boring to many students. With the average Gen Z students now spending at least 4 hours a day watching online content, these traditional teaching methods now struggle to keep the students engaged. In this video, we'll show you why film and video is the perfect tool for language learning, and how Film Academy's interactive online tool can be used to reignite your students' passion for language learning. Learning feels a lot less like work when you're enjoying yourself in the process, and studies over the years have repeatedly shown that video learning can be an effective and powerful means of providing cultural context while inspiring enthusiasm for the target language. Most of all, films have the power to evoke empathy and cultural understanding, helping to create a connection. At the same time, students are able to immerse themselves in native, authentic content that shows the way the language is actually spoken. At FilmDo, we have one of the world's largest international film catalogs, with films in over 32 languages, so you'll be sure to find the right content for your students at every level. Film and video-based learning comes in many forms and can be applied in a variety of different contexts, from mid to end of lesson knowledge check to independent self-study and homework. Of course, one of the greatest advantages of video learning is that it can be easily adapted for remote and online learning too, providing students and teachers with a set of easy-to-share resources and ready-to-use lessons that can be used in multiple modes. Using Film Academy, teachers have the ability to create interactive lessons that can easily be adapted for your students in just a few minutes. This saves teachers lots of time in looking for relevant content and creating teaching material. Visit Film Academy for your free trial of Film Academy Pro today. Do you want to?
And of course, we're now being used by many schools in Indonesia, and I'd love to talk about what's worked in Indonesia, such as the work we've done with English Today. And that's actually, Indonesian students love fun, action-driven films. Movie trailers are especially great, especially for teenagers, but also music videos. Did you know that songs by BTS, Korean bands in English, can also be used to teach English, for example? That's a great way where students can't wait to do their homework. And they really connect to them with where they're spending time as well. And of course, in helping find content, look for content that's authentic, English language in films or video in different accents, showing culture, showing food in different contexts is really useful to inspire students to want to learn English, and of course help with long-term language acquisition when they're more encouraged to do their homework or to interact with English learning content on a more regular basis. So it's a really exciting time It's one now where around the world we are seeing learners now expect to be entertained, but viewers also now expect to learn something. And it's what I call, we're at a point of the edutainment revolution. It has arrived, it's really exciting. I would love for all of you to try to use film and video in your own lessons to make English learning and English teaching really exciting, and of course, helps to engage your students and connect to the modern students. So please do get in touch with me. Feel free to check out filmdo.academy. It's free to sign up. Feel free to drop me an email at info@filmdo.academy or add me on LinkedIn. And we'd love to stay in touch and help you with your film and video journey in English teaching. Thank you.
Thank you, Verada. Oh, impressive. I think all the speakers are trying to showing off their Indonesian today. Thank you so much. If you look at the chat and also the Q&A, a lot of people are asking about video using movies. So teachers, participants, if you would like to ask questions, we have a Q&A session at the end of this session. We have one more speaker and then we can go on with the discussion. And I would suggest that you do not post your questions in the chat box, but in the Q&A. It will make it easier for the panelists to read your questions. And now we have the last speaker for this session, the first session. We have Chris Moore. Hello. You don't speak Bahasa Indonesia, do you?
I'm going to be very disappointing, and I'm not going to use Indonesian. I apologize for my lack
All right, no
preparation.
worries. So Chris Moore is the managing director and a specialist language courses, SLC, medical English. So I think it's a very big market now in Indonesia, where the government's trying to improve the English language proficiency of the doctors and nurses here in the country. English teachers who are joining us today would like to probably learn from your presentation. So Chris, over to you.
Thank you very much. So I'm going to do what everybody else does and go to my PowerPoint. So here it is. Bear with me. Okay, and let's go from the beginning. So, good evening, good morning, wherever you happen to be. It's a cold and grey morning here in southern England. I hope it's a little nicer where you are. I'm the founder and managing director of SLC, Specialist Language Courses. We founded in 2012, so we are coming up for our 10th birthday. We specialize in English for specific purposes, and within that, very specifically in medical English and test preparation for medical students and medical professionals. Before I talk about the medical English in particular, what I'd like to do is just have a look at the background to the rise of ESP, English for specific purposes. So English for specific purposes has been around for 30, 40 years. Anybody who's been in the industry for some time has all kinds of experience working with all kinds of people, looking at very specific needs-driven English. These days, with the globalization of work and study, corporate meetings are increasingly in English, conferences, seminars, university courses delivered in English. English is very much a lingua franca, as most of us here are very aware of. And so within that, we've seen the development of a lot of English courses which target very specific needs of specific groups of students. And these are driven very much by their needs, what they need to do with English when they are often working as well as studying. And this is in the development of very context-specific curricula involving the language, this kind of balance of skills that different jobs need, the discourse, the communication frameworks, the kind of cultural settings in which language takes place. And so we've seen this curricula develop across a wide range of industry sectors, including aviation, for example, shipping, so maritime, hospitality, construction, and in our case, medicine. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about the development of the medical English courses that we work with. So the first question, I guess, is why medical English? Why go for that? Well, the first thing is that medical English matters. These are high stakes conversations. These are important pieces of research, seminars, conferences, etc. So this is language which makes a difference. It's language which, as a medical professional, or as someone who is studying to become a medical professional, whether you're a doctor, a nurse, a pharmacist, a radiographer, these, the language you use matters. It's increasingly delivered in English, whether it be working overseas, whether it be studying, whether it be attending international medical events or being part of an international team. And this is something that we really wanted to engage with. So language, which really makes a difference to the learners who are working with us. The second thing which really drew us to medical English was it's difficult. As an English language teacher, and I was a teacher for 20 years before starting SLC, when I listened to doctors talking to each other, discussing a particular case, very difficult for me, even as a language professional, to really understand what's going on. So the level of technical content, the high level of vocabulary, the kind of communication frameworks used are something which is very established within the medical sphere, but difficult to understand for outside. And we thought this is a real opportunity for us to go into something which is difficult. It's interesting, so it's good for the brain, but also it's a real challenge. And actually, there are not that many other companies who do this kind of thing. So we thought there was something there to get our heads into. By specializing, we developed expertise. So we decided we would really go deep into medical and therefore develop a lot of expertise around this particular sphere. I have friends who run aviation English companies, maritime English companies, and they've done exactly the same thing for the same reason. And then in terms of medical English, the impact amplifies as students use their learning. So we work with nurses and doctors who are working, who will go to work, for example, in the UK or the US, and their contact with patients, with the families and friends of patients, with their colleagues, really amplifies the impact of their learning. So again, this is important for us to make a difference. However, working with medical English is not easy. As I mentioned just before, one of the attractions was the difficulty, the challenges around that. And these are the 7 kind of main challenges that we had to really work with when we set out to develop medical English programs. One was the selection and delivery of content, how to address very specific needs. So healthcare, there's a very wide range of professions within healthcare. How to keep up with change. Things are moving so quickly. We've seen that in the last 18 months as vaccines have been developed, new pandemic management techniques developed, etc. People who we work with, they're time poor. They can't get to schools. They're working shifts. They're all over the place in terms of geography. So how to work with such a disparate group of students. How to work with those who want self-study because of their lack of time, and those who want to work with teachers. So for example, we work with medical students at universities and we work with the teachers at those universities. So how to support those medical English teachers and those medical test preparation teachers. That was also something we really had to think about, because our courses are increasingly used in medical universities. And then the other thing is, how do you know it's any good? Not that many people do this, so therefore we wanted to make sure that we were able to reassure people that the content of what we do really works. So how we kind of overcame these challenges, let's say. The first one is that we worked really hard to work with expert writers. So people who combine both healthcare and English language expertise, and exam insiders, examiners, test item writers, etc. Our head of medical English is an English language lecturer, teacher trainer, but she's also a registered nurse, and she still puts in nursing shifts in Scotland where she lives. So she really has an understanding of how language works on the ground, and we make sure that the writers we work with have a similar background. So really, working with experts. The second thing is we went deep. So not just doing medical English and some medical terminology, but really we have an English for Doctors course, which is 100 hours of content, a nursing course, 100 hours of content. We have courses for pharmacy, for radiography. We have cross-sector courses, so in medical terminology, in grammar, in medical academic purposes, so giving presentations, for example, or writing research papers, and similar with the test preparation courses. We decided to go online. We decided this very early. Online allows us to have courses which are updatable very quickly, which we can customize for specific organizations such as universities or hospital groups. It's media rich, So as both Nigel and Virada have pointed out, it includes video, audio, you can record yourself, it's very visual, so it's a rich, engaging learning experience. And it's on demand. It's on demand for self-study, and you can add on lots of tutoring options. We do that through our own teachers. We have partners who have lots of teachers who also use the courses, and they might use either a physical classroom, but also a lot of people are using online classrooms too. Oh, hang on, that's not very good. Okay, we really made sure that we were focusing, excuse me, a little technical hitch, focusing on the experience of the learner and the teacher. So we don't have our own learning management system. We are the content people. We work with a learning management system with very deep expertise in English language teaching. They also work with Cambridge University Press, with Google, with Macmillan. So they have a fantastic platform which we're able to use to really show the content off and to give a great experience to both our students and teachers. We wanted to make sure that we had everything accredited, so checked out, and this is by both professional development, so vocational training organizations, as well as English language and test people. And then the final thing is, you know, in this kind of space, you've got to keep innovating, you've got to keep going. So coming very soon for us is mobile first content. I mean, it all works on a mobile phone, but this is going to be a much stronger mobile learning experience, offline content, so you don't need to have a connection to access everything. And we're developing more courses, of course. So this is the portfolio. This is all medical English and medical English test preparation. There's about 750 hours of content here, and it's expanding very quickly. And you can see there's a wide range, both profession specific, across healthcare and exam preparation. A few case studies. This is a course that we put together for Vinmec Hospital Group in Vietnam. So they wanted to use pieces of our different courses and combine them in one course for all their nurses. And that's what we did. Digital content is quite easy to recombine and use in different ways. And so we have a course which is being rolled out at the moment. This is a course, you can see there's both English and Russian. So we work with the biggest medical school in Russia. And together we developed an Anglo-Russian clinical communication course for doctors, which is being used across the Russian market. We work with Health Education England on different projects. This is something we did recently in India with Health Education England. They're part of the NHS, the National Health Service here, as well as an Indian provider to provide OET preparation for groups of nurses in southern India. This is something that we did with a refugee organization based here in the UK. Refugees from all over the world, across different parts of the UK. We brought them together using online classrooms, combining with the study content that we do in order to get them across the language requirement they need to register and work here. And now a lot of them are entering the workforce, which is brilliant for the UK National Health Service and great for the doctors and great for the impact that they make with the patients that they then serve. And then finally, this is something that we did with OET, the test preparation body, and we worked with them, some National Health Service Trust, to bring students together from the Philippines, India, and the UK to take them through the OET program, and they're all now working as nurses here in the UK. So that's some examples of how we combine the study content that we do, how it can be recombined, customized, and used by doctors, nurses, as well as other professions to deliver language training wherever people might be. So on the screen here, we have Vietnam, Russia, Philippines, UK, refugees from Afghanistan, Syria, Iraq, and so on. So that is us. That was a kind of whistle-stop tour of medical English, what we developed and why we developed. If anybody's got any questions, any follow-up questions they'd like to engage me with, I would love to talk about this. I can talk about this stuff until the cows come home. So here are my contact details. I will stop sharing there. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chris. And thank you so much to all of our speakers. I would like to bring them back in the spotlight. We have a wonderful presentations, first from Vinita, who gave an overview of the private English language teaching sectors in Indonesia. There are so many options. I can see in the chat, even as Vinita was talking and was presenting, people are adding up to the list. So definitely lots of competition. But again, Indonesia is a very big country and there are lots of students. And also, it's not just the private sector that is innovating, the teachers as well. The pandemic has forced us to getting used to online teaching now. Following Finita, we have heard from Nigel from Really English, Varada from Film Do, and Chris from SLC. Three different presentations covering unique innovations in English language learning options. So I think we have all learned a lot. Now we have some time for questions. I would like to begin with a question to our for our UK panelists. So what did you take away from Finita's presentation, and what do you have to offer learners in Indonesia directly? Ding ding.
Can I start on that one?
Okay, anybody? Yes.
It's really great to get a sense of what the provision looks like in Indonesia. Obviously, we work in a very specialist sector. We already work with universities in different parts of the world, not in Indonesia. So it's definitely a conversation that we would like to have with people who are working with healthcare students, medical students, pharmaceutical students, nursing students, for example. So that would be something that we would like to do. In terms of the private language sector, if people are working with ESP, then we'd be very happy to support them, not only in medical English, but also in providing links with other providers of things like aviation English, legal English came up, academic English, and so on. So that was a really interesting overview of the Indonesian ELT landscape. So thank you very much.
Nigel.
Yeah. So for me, it just reminded me that Indonesia is about 15 different countries in one country. You look at the geography and you look at the points of reference of the universities, and you realize how much of this vast country is not yet covered and really well supported. And I think that's one of the great challenges. I've been fortunate to travel all over Indonesia, or to many of the places, even to Irian Jaya as I knew it way back in the day, now Papua and Sulawesi and Sumatra. And every time you just get this sense of awe that it's such a massive country and there's so many possibilities and so many people that can't be dealt with in the big cities, Medan, Surabaya, Jakarta, but there are so many different places. And that was just really, that came home, Ibu Finita, thank you. The opportunities that are there because there are so few sort of institutions, physical institutions in so few places relative to population.
Thank you. And Volada.
It's a really interesting overview, but I think for me, what was really exciting was to actually see some of the innovation, the pace of innovation that's happening on the ground, all this amazing English teaching and learning startup that has really accelerated. Even the immersion village, that was super interesting for me. And I'm like, even I want to check this out now. But I think what has really shown me is that, the level of innovation that actually it will spread to the more well-established organization. We will see that more going into the university language centers. We will also see that going into the more public schools. And it is a really exciting time. And I think with many of the speakers also operating in the online space, that's where we can really help accelerate bringing many of these really interesting innovation, online trends, so that actually it's not just one, Kampung Inggris. It can be, hundreds and hundreds of mini Kampung Inggris. And that's really exciting, even in a couple of homes that you can immerse yourself in film and video and even talking directly to English speakers around the world. It can happen at a much faster pace. Very exciting.
All right, and now to you, Finita, what's your reaction to the presentations by Nigel, Varada, and Chris? What can Indonesia learn from these innovative UK providers?
Well, it is very interesting to see so many different kinds of innovation. And as we can see that some of them are not available here in Indonesia. As I explained, that many of them provide more like general English classes, and then adding up as the enrichment to schools. Then Chris, for example, you provide English for nurses. I believe that this is Indonesian really need this one. I've got some friends working with the medical, and then they really need this kind of innovation. And obviously vocational schools need support in the relation to English language teaching, which are really specific. And then another digital technology that Miguel and Virada mentioned give more option to us Indonesian. However, since if you see that eastern part of Indonesia are not really reached by this well-established and then other probably starts up, it means that they need a kind of low-tech innovation, which are reachable by the whole nation, not only in the big cities, but also in the remote area. I think that should be a challenge for you, Nigel and Vera, that provide kind of low-tech option for Indonesian society. Thank you.
Okay, or that should be an opportunity for partnership with Indonesian participants here in this event. All right, thank you so much. Now let's have some questions from the audience. Let me see. First, we have a question from Baharudin. Baharudin has a question for Pak Nigel. He would like Pak Nigel to give an example of blended learning.
Okay, terima kasih, Pak. It's quite difficult to give an example, but if I hold that in front of the camera, then basically this is a regular textbook. It looks exactly and feels like a textbook, but the key language is related to what the student has studied on the mobile phone or what they will study. So the idea is to really bring the kind of self-study in the mobile phone alive in a kind of lesson. And this lesson is designed for a teacher with very little experience. So we use it a lot in rural China, for example, where teachers don't have much experience, and you can follow it through exactly. The other thing we enable people to do is to make their own. So you can rewrite this. It's open source with the idea of teaching something that's more appropriate to the students that are around you, but keep the key language the same, because that's what's being studied on the phone. And so it's really that integrated flipped classroom or blended learning model, which is I think one of the best ways of studying. So I'm not sure I've kind of given a blended lesson, but hopefully I've shown how it works, and it's pretty familiar. You know, this is very familiar to people, but it's just combining the two.
Okay, thank you. Next, Leah has a question for Chris. What aspects should be considered when designing and developing the curriculum, and also the materials for English for healthcare students?
That's quite a big question. I think the first thing is to get a really strong understanding of the needs of your students. It's got to start from the needs, so the curriculum really emerges from rigorous needs analysis. And when we created the English for Nurses program or the English for Doctors program, we spoke to a lot of people in the professionals, but also teachers and healthcare managers as well. So we developed the needs from there. When you have an understanding of the needs, and therefore you can start working on what the curriculum looks like and the sequencing of the language, then it's really important to make sure it's a coherent course and to include content which is really engaging. So this is something which has come up from all the sessions, I think. And so we use what we think is best practice online methodology. So short inputs into exercises very quickly, a lot of video, a lot of dialogue, a lot of variety. You can record yourself as part of a conversation and listen to yourself speaking in that conversation. We wanted also to make sure that the course was very teachable. So again, from a teaching point of view, to have clear sequencing, clear organization of the course, and a clear way of teachers working with their students and checking progress and recycling language, it was very much part of the thinking. So yeah, begin with the needs, design the curriculum, and then we test it out. And the great thing about digital is that you can see where it's working, where it's not working. And if it's not working, you can fix it quickly. So it's not like publishing a textbook, which takes an absolute age to then publish the next edition and next edition. We can just go into the learning management system. We can repurpose or redesign some stuff, and bang, it's out there as part of a course which someone's already doing. So, digital gives us real flexibility in making sure that we keep up with the needs. And as I mentioned with healthcare, it's changing really quickly, healthcare, all the time. And therefore we have to be using content which can be updated quickly. And so, and again, listening to the needs of the students, getting lots of feedback, and then putting that back into the courses.
Okay, you mentioned a publication book. Andy has a question. Is there any commercial ESP book designed by your company that they can buy, that people can buy?
Well, we don't publish textbooks, no. So we see our courses as kind of digital course books, if you like. And so as long as people have access to the courses, they can follow them through in the same way as they would a course book. The teacher can actually log in and see the pages that the students are doing. So just like you would look at your student's book, you can look at what they've done, whether it be on a tablet or a phone or a laptop, and go from there. We publish kind of PDF teacher guides, that kind of thing. But in terms of textbooks, no. I can recommend some pretty good medical English textbooks, though. The only problem is that they date quite quickly. And so a lot of publishers don't publish a lot of medical English textbooks because 10 years later, half the content is no longer relevant. So
exactly. Okay. Thank you so much, Chris. Now we have some questions for Radha. Neta here. Neta wants to know, how can we register in FilmDo Academy? Is it a free platform or a subscription-based website?
Yes, FilmDo.Academy, you can register straight away. It's currently free to use for 2 weeks to access all the course authoring tool, which means you can create your own lessons, you can find existing lessons, and you can edit it. Of course, you know, the FilmDo Academy is also used in the UK and US, so this is the standard model where people would come in and register for 2 weeks. But after 2 weeks, you can still play any games for free that's on the website. You can also play all the games that you have previously created. But of course, for our Indonesian teachers today, if you would like an extended free trial or you'd like to find out more, if you're an Indonesian school or a group of teachers, feel free to drop me an email. I'm sure we can work out a really interesting and extended pilot and free trial for you and your school too.
All right, thank you for that. And Andy also has another question for you, Radha. Video is an excellent way to learn English, but how about using video to cope with limited English proficiency students with limited English?
No, exactly. But actually, even for basic or beginner students, we've seen some really interesting things because they don't have to understand everything to appreciate the content or context. So we are also, for example, being used in Thailand because I'm Thai by origin, so we do a lot there as well. So what we see sometimes is that for very basic or what they call pre-English, sometimes the question is in Thai, if that makes sense. The question
okay.
But then they can learn the vocabulary. So the question is in Thai, like, you know, how do you say this animal in Thai? And then you have the word in English and the Thai translation, the English. So the students can learn along while the question is in the native language. That's one technique. Another one is where they actually don't have to understand the whole video, and the whole conversation, but you can still ask very basic questions like where are they? You know, so they're at the beach, at the school. They might not understand everything, but the nature of the question is relatively easier and can inspire them to learn. And the point is that the teachers can have the freedom to create what type of question is. Sometimes we even see people using, you know, other language to teach English just because of the video. So it's up to the teacher to have that flexibility.
Right. So it's still up to the teacher. So teachers, you still have the power. Thank you so much, Radha. As soon as you mention an extended free trial, look at the chat. People are asking for your contact. So if you would like to get the contact, you can download the booklet for all the UK ELT providers. It's available in the link. You can see the slides at the end of this session as well. So I'm afraid that's all we have for session 1. Thank you very much to all of our speakers. What a session, learning a lot. Now we're going to have a very quick break now, and it's time for you to grab a coffee, a snack, but don't go away. We'll be starting in the next 5 minutes, and we'll be hearing from the British Council, Cambridge University Press and Assessment, and Pearson. So see you soon.
Very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Teachers, do not leave yet. We're still in the third session of the day, and this session is about English exams, and we're going to look at innovation in English and exams. And we have three speakers today joining us. The first one is from the British Council. Please welcome James Clear, the Manager, English Language Service, British Council. James, time is yours.
Thank you very much, and selamat sore semua, and good morning to everybody in the UK. So let me just quickly share my slides. Okay. All right, please let me know if you can see that now.
Yes, we can see, but it's not in a presentation mode.
Let's get it up. Okay, up now?
Yes.
Great. So thank you once again. So as you mentioned, I'm from the British Council, but specifically I'm from the British Council Indonesia Foundation. So this is the part of the British Council in Indonesia that is responsible for the delivery of our teaching products and then our assessment products and our exams throughout Indonesia. So obviously we're part of the broader British Council, which I mean, hopefully we're all familiar with. I mean, with the organizer of this event as a whole, but specifically I'm going to sort of today talk about our teaching products and our exams and sort of how we've reacted to the pandemic and the innovations that we've had to introduce over the last 18 months or so. Okay, so moving on. So first of all, I'd like to talk a little bit about our teaching products and again, how we've had to innovate in many cases and during that time. So one of the first things I want to talk about is how we transition to online learning. As with many institutions around the world, you know, we had to move very, very quickly from what for us was a largely face-to-face teaching business, where nearly all of our students were coming to our centres for classes, and move that to an online offer as quickly as possible. You know, it was very important to all of our students that they could continue to learn with us, that they weren't having significant breaks in their study. So we worked very, very hard and very, very quickly to move all of those classes online. And, you know, because again, it's live learning, so we wanted to obviously make sure that they're getting a comparable experience to what they were already receiving in the classroom. And there were sort of three key areas where we worked on to sort of achieve that, and in some ways to provide additional benefits. So because we are part of a regional and a global network, one of the things that we established, as all of the countries in the region were having the same problem, of course, is to establish regional hubs of our teachers. And this meant that students could actually join classes that weren't just run by the British Council Indonesia, but that were run by any British Council Indonesia within the whole region. So this actually gave them a much greater choice of classes, much greater flexibility. I mean, it also meant that they were able to join classes with a much wider range of learners as well. So learners coming from all over East Asia, which again, a lot of our students have said since then that they really appreciate and they really like as part of that online learning experience. The other area was training. So again, a lot of our teachers did not have experience of online teaching at that time. So we very quickly sort of developed training materials for those that did have that experience. And as we learned more from that experience, we were constantly updating those training materials and, you know, making sure that we were regularly giving all of our teachers access to those training materials and giving them new training to ensure that they were able to really get the most out of the online classes. So making sure they were using things like breakout rooms, learning new ways and new techniques of maximizing interaction between students, and sort of, again, making sure that the experience for the students was very, very comparable to what they were experiencing in the classroom before. And then the third part of that was around sort of development of some of the technologies that we were using. So we already had an online booking system for our students in terms of how they joined classes and booked classes, sort of even in a face-to-face manner, but it was then sort of making sure that we updated those so that then students are using the same way to book their classes, whether they're coming for a face-to-face class in a teaching center or whether they're joining that class online. And then it also means that we can now move our operation sort of from an online to a face-to-face business back again, if necessary, very quickly. And from the student's point of view, they're accessing all of their classes in the same way that they were before. And then again, in terms of teaching, we also launched a range of new digital products as well. So all of these were probably in development before the pandemic, but I think obviously, you know, the pandemic really accelerated our need for these. And so we were able to launch all of these. I mean, some of these were already available before the pandemic, but the rest of these were launched mostly sort of by about sort of September last year, and we're continuing to update and even launch new products as well this year. But I think, again, when we're looking at these, again, it's really trying to take advantage of the fact that they are an online product. So there's a mixture of live synchronous learning and self-access materials. And one of the differences, for example, if it's a purely online product, and I think as some people have mentioned in their previous talks, is having a slightly more blended experience. So those live classes are actually shorter than what you would get in a face-to-face sort of experience, but where you're doing slightly more work either before or after class to supplement it in a self-access way. And one of the other key things for us is maintaining flexibility. So again, you know, because it's online, it's even more flexible to meet all of the needs of our students, but also as well, we want to make sure that they're getting regular reporting on their progress so that they can see how they're doing and how can they assess, and also to enable us to monitor that as well, sort of how people are engaged in classes, make sure we're sort of clear about how engaged our students are, that they are happy, that they're getting a really good experience, and making those changes if necessary. So that's sort of the innovations in our teaching. Now I'd like to talk a little bit about our exams. And before I go on to the innovations, just to give you a very quick overview of the three main exams that we now offer. All of these are available in Indonesia as well as globally. And sort of they go from English Score to Aptis to IELTS, and sort of as you go along that line, you're sort of increasing the stakes, if you like, of those exams. So English Score is something that you can do on your mobile phone, and it's a test that's often used for self-improvement, but it can also be used to prove your English proficiency level to an employer or even to an institution, or it can be used as sort of a way to prepare for IELTS as well. One of the key differences between this and the other two tests here is that this is sort of, at the moment at least, this is a receptive test, so there's no speaking component at the moment, there's no writing component at the moment. The next of these is Aptis, and this is very often used by organizations to measure the English language proficiency of their own employees, including actually in some countries for the British Council as well. So often when we recruit staff, they take an Aptis test as a way of sort of indicating their English level, so we're confident that sort of all the staff that we're employing have the required language levels. And again, this one is all 4 skills that are tested as part of this. So there is a dedicated writing and speaking component here. And then next, IELTS, which is the highest stake of these tests, and probably the one that most people are familiar with. So this is sort of accepted internationally by a large number of universities, but also by UK Visa and Immigration, for example. So this is sort of known as a secure English language test, and can be used for both study and migration purposes. And then in the innovations in these, we'll move on. In a way, sort of the higher stake the test is, in some ways, sort of the less the amount of innovation that's possible, but there is still innovation in all 3 of these tests. So in particular, English Score. So as I mentioned, this is a test that you can take on your mobile phone. And at present, certainly as far as we're aware, it's the only mobile test that you can take on your phone that is also proctored. And by proctored, we mean that there is a degree of verification that the person taking the test is the person who says they're taking the test. So again, if, for example, an employer wants to use this as a way of sort of testing their employees' English level, or if you want to take the test as a way to prove to a future employer your English level, there is this verification that happens, so that you can prove that it's you that's taken the test. This is truly your English level, and you can get a professional certificate as part of that as well. And then again, the main innovation with Aptis was again around proctoring. So traditionally, Aptis was a test that you had to take sort of in a center, in person, at a sort of authorized computer. But now there's the opportunity to take Aptis in a variety of places. And we worked very hard to ensure that it is a reliable test. So by introducing this proctoring, so again, you've got things like real-time verification, desktop recording, 360-degree room scanning, all of these things to make sure that again, for example, if you're an employer who wants to use this as a way to verify your employees' English level, that you're very, very confident that it is the right person taking the test. And then finally, with IELTS, so perhaps less innovation possible here because of the fact it is a secure English language test and used by people like UK Visa and Immigration. Nonetheless, there's definitely sort of ways that we have worked to improve the test and sort of innovate under the circumstances of the last sort of 18 months. So now in Indonesia, we're exclusively delivering IELTS on computer, which means that you get much faster results. And we also introduced an element of the test called IELTS indicator. So this was particularly important last year when a large number of countries were not able to deliver IELTS tests because of lockdowns and sort of various restrictions around the world, including in Indonesia. So at times, for example, if it's not possible to take an IELTS test because of lockdowns and because of COVID restrictions that are in place, then we do offer what we call IELTS indicator, which is sort of essentially the same test, but that you can take from your own home, and this can then be used by universities, for example, to again sort of gain entry onto their courses and that kind of thing. Although depending on the situation, whether or not it's available for things like getting visas will depend on the UK visa. But certainly there was a period last year where that was the case. But at the very least, so for example, if you can't travel to the UK for university study, but you can do your course online, then IELTS indicator can be an option for you to get that test as well. And another thing that we are introducing now is video call speaking. So this is for the speaking part of the test. So one of our goals is to try and get as many test centers around Indonesia as possible and sort of really increase the reach of this so that people who are not in, Jakarta or other parts of Java still have the opportunity to take the test without having to sort of travel to one of those very, very large cities. And this means that we can do this, and then the speaking part is now done through video call. So we can do this without having to send examiners sort of all over Indonesia, which makes it far more difficult and far less practical to do that. And then finally, those last two are sort of upcoming things as well. And these are ways that will be easier for people to prepare for the test. So IELTS Learner Pathways will be a way that you can sort of, as you're booking your test, you can easily see a wide range of sort of preparation materials that are available to you, including Speak Up, which is a way that you can test your spoken sort of language in particular before you go and take your test. So hopefully that's sort of a quick overview of those innovations we've made in both teaching and examinations. And thank you very much.
Thank you, James, for your presentation. I'm sure teachers are familiar with IELTS. I see a lot of people ask questions yesterday as well about it. Unfortunately, we do not have question and answer session in this last session. But teachers, I hope you learn from this presentation. We now go to our next speaker. I would like to invite Alan Davenport from Cambridge University Press and Assessment. Alan Davenport is the Professional Learning and Development Manager for Cambridge University Press and Assessment in the Asian region. If you're familiar with the batik, he's actually wearing a batik from Mirota. Is that right, Alan?
It is Mirota batik. I can't speak Bahasa Indonesian so well, but I love wearing the clothing. So
okay.
I hope that's okay.
Over to you, Alan.
Perfect. And I have 10 minutes, everybody. So just to make sure that you can hear me and that you're with me, can I get 10 people to type the number 10 in the chat box? I just want to make sure that you're still with me. So I'm not going to start until I see 10 people type the number 10. I see you, Eddie. I see you, Sonia. Thank you so much. I see you, Rennie. I see you, Di. Okay, I see you, Nick. I see you, Anton. I see you, Win. Thank you so much, Donna, Steffi. Fantastic. All right, you're with me. So I'm going to talk today about, innovations in English and exams, but I really want to make sure, you see that parentheses there that's English and exams and assessment, because I want to make sure people remember I work for Cambridge University Press and Assessment, not Cambridge University Press and Tests, because we really think that innovations in assessment, which includes but is not limited to exams, is very important. So since I only have 10 minutes, like you've all reminded me in the chat, I thought I'd just jump right in. I think when we think of innovations, we go immediately to technology. And indeed, recently we have had a lot of technological enhancements with our exams. Different exams, different degrees of technological enhancements. But I think one of the things that I could demonstrate some technological enhancements with is with our LinguaSkill exam, which we bill as the accurate English test with fast results. And it uses a lot of innovation because we have a lot of auto marking and AI that goes along with the way that LinguaSkill is scored. And this has a lot of benefits to us and a lot of benefits that we've experienced during this pandemic and this global crisis. The questions can adapt to the learner ability, which I think is very important because it can reduce the amount of time that the test is taken, and it can reduce some learner anxiety because you don't feel like, oh my gosh, it keeps on getting harder and harder. It feels like the test is adapting to you, and it just makes it a more rewarding and successful feeling experience. It also allows us quick turnaround of test results and automated feedback. It comes with this AI and the auto marking with it, but also a lot of flexibility, the ability to take it in an exam center. We've also been able to offer remote proctoring with it. What I want to point out, though, is that these are technological enhancements, and they have helped us deliver a lot of things, including with IELTS, which is co-owned by Cambridge British Council and IDP, offering this flexibility to take it computer-based or paper-based. This has been important to us, but it's just an enhancement. Auto marking in AI doesn't replace the human element. I put at the bottom of the slide the Cambridge English hybrid marking model because I just wanted to point out that there's still human intervention. It's not a replacement of what humans do. It's an enhancement. So the way the auto marking works, I only have 10 minutes. I don't have a lot of time to go into the full technology. But there's a wonderful article that was published in Research Notes kind of about how Cambridge has evolved computer adaptive testing and what we, our philosophy behind it, how we put it into practice. And for those of you who are really interested, there's a website there that you can come back and look at the video and look at it to see the research and the theory behind it. But what I think is even more exciting, and it is one of the only Bahasa Indonesian words that I know, it's gratis. If you like the word gratis, can I get you to type gratis in the chat box? I just want to see if anybody else likes the word gratis besides me. Yeah, there we go. I say from theory to practice because auto marking in AI only works if we can get data and data and data to feed into the auto marker. And the way that we've done that is something that we can now share with teachers so that you can use it in your classrooms if you like. Now, we have two things that I want to share with you right now. One of them is called Write and Improve, and it's just writeandimprove.com. And we're also developing Speak and Improve, which is still under kind of a research beta. But the thing about Write and Improve and Speak and Improve, if you want to see auto marking and the feedback, the instant feedback in action, but how it doesn't replace the human marker, but augments and enhances what we can do, you can sign up and use parts of Write and Improve and Speak and Improve with your learners absolutely free so that you can see this innovation in action. So that's one of the things. I see that gratis is Dutch, yes, but it's still a word that when I see it in Indonesia, my eyes go straight to it. So thank you, Andy, for that. The other thing that I would say, though, is let's not get stuck just on the technological enhancements. What I think we have to remember is that a lot of the innovations that we're getting these days are not just about bringing in technology, but how we can integrate learning and assessment. And I think that one of the things that's come out quite recently, I'd say in the past 3 or 4 years, maybe even 5 with Cambridge University Press Assessment, is this idea of a learning-oriented assessment approach. And you see our good old friend, the Common European Framework of Reference on the right-hand side and how it relates to exams. But what we've really been trying to do that I think is innovative is find better ways to make sure that we are integrating the learning and assessment in what we call a learning-oriented assessment approach. We know that washback is going to happen whenever an exam is being taken. So how can we make that positive washback? In other words, how can we have a positive impact by the design of the exam? So we've been working very much throughout everything that we do on a systemic approach to bring together formative, summative, formal, and informal assessment by design, not by accident, so that it doesn't feel like we just do teaching, 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 then testing, 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 but that we can mix it all together. Because at the end of the day, teaching and exams serve the same purpose, and that is to help our learners succeed. And what I want to point out, if you remember nothing else from me or what Cambridge stands for, it is that the learner, not the technology, is at the heart of what we do. So innovation should always be learner forward, not technology forward. And that's what we've tried to do. What does it look like in practice? Well, to give you some examples, it can be in something like our course book or our course called Prepare, which is for secondary level learners. But what you can see on the left-hand side is a traditional, paperback course book. We also could do it in an ebook. We have ebooks for this as well. But what I really want to point out is that the right-hand side that's kind of highlighted in red, there's a part called Prepare for the Exam. And this little small design detail makes a huge difference because this part of the book is not just a reading exercise and it's not just exam prep. It brings in the context of the reading into questions that are not similar to what's on the exam, that are exactly like what students would see on the exam at this level for the CEFR. And so again, it's bringing in authentic test practice, but not as an extra. It's integrated into the learning so that, again, we can reduce learner anxiety towards exams and help them be as successful as they can be. Also, we've incorporated something new called Test and Train, which is a very mobile forward way to get extra test practice, not just exam simulation, but test practice and tips. And again, some of that instant feedback we were talking about, so that students can, on their mobile devices, get what they need to, really prepare to the best of their ability for the exams, making sure that what we teach and what we test matches at the same time for fairness, for practicality. That, to me, is a great innovation. Another way that we put this into practice, an example is with our course book Empower. Small things make a big difference. For example, with the unit structure of Empower, we have an opener, and then we have A and B lessons, which are grammar and vocabulary, and then we have lesson C. But when you teach with Empower, by design, we've put the unit progress test, which, by the way, can be taken digitally through on your mobile device or through the CLMS, our learning management system, or we have paper-based options for a lower tech. But the whole point of integrating learning and assessment together is the unit progress test comes after lesson C. That is not the last lesson of the unit, because we want to give teachers data. We want to see how students have done on that that progress test. And lesson D is an integrated skills lesson, so that if our students did really poorly on the progress test, we have time to reteach. If the students did really well on the test, we have time to extend the lesson. We can make decisions based on how the students did, because that's what assessment really is about. It's about gathering data so we can make decisions that best help our learners. So just moving the progress test there and then having another lesson after it, so that testing isn't about prove to me you learned it, but testing is part of the learning process. The other thing that I think that we're doing that's very innovative is bringing teachers along in the process. I know that the Professional Learning and Development Teacher Development Day was yesterday, but I really want to say, you know, we're really putting a lot of effort into our purposeful professional learning and development. We have qualifications and programs, both in a self-study and tutor-led mode for teachers on various aspects, whether it's teaching systems or skills or assessment literacy. We have some programs like, you know, the Delta, which is very long. We have some programs which are 2-hour self-study online workshops. So even that micro type, we have lots of options. We have frameworks and assessment tools. But what I really wanted to point out for you, again, for your own development, if you're a teacher, is this website, this www.cambridge.org/PDP. This is a free professional development tracker that we have for teachers, so that you can self-assess what your needs as a teacher might be, you know, to help guide you with what areas in your teaching do you need development in. Because one of the things about development that makes it so crucial is being able to reflect on what you need to know, but how do you know what you don't know? The professional development tracker is there for that. And then what about the future? What innovations do we have in the future of assessment? I'm not exactly sure, but if you want to get some sneak previews, here are a couple of, again, things that you can investigate. On the right, Quiz Your English app. You can get this from the Android or the Apple iTunes store, whatever it's called, the App Store now. It's a free collaborative game playing English quiz app. Again, you can download it for learners right now, so that you can compete head to head with some English knowledge. And on the left, something that's brand new and really exciting, Minecraft. You know, how can we use Minecraft for teaching, education? Who knows, maybe in the future, even Minecraft for assessment. We partnered with Microsoft here, and if you go to cambridgeenglish.org/English-adventures, you can find out more about it there. Again, I only had 10 minutes, so I couldn't tell you everything, but if you have more questions, I'd really encourage you to contact not me, but Yusuf Sedo. And Mr. Yusuf Sedo is our country manager for Indonesia. He's got a full team. He also works with Sonia Tobing, who is from the assessment side, who also is ready to help you with anything, questions that you might have. We just put Yusuf's name on here because we wanted one direct email contact for you in case you needed it. But if you have any questions or want to know more, please contact Yusuf in English or Indonesian. He's great in both. And that is my presentation. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Alan. Wonderful to get the enthusiasm from the teachers as well. Next, we have Stuart Connor, the Director of English Assessment, Asia, Pearson, to present what Pearson has been doing in terms of innovation in English assessment. Stuart, over to you. Oh, you're also wearing a batik. Is that batik?
Would you know, this is the nearest thing I had to a batik. I don't know. Okay. I can't honestly say it is one, but
much appreciated. All right, time is yours.
Okay, hi everybody. Thanks for listening. Thanks for tuning in wherever you are. As it happens, I'm Stuart, and I'm based in Tokyo, Japan. And in this 10-minute session, I'm going to first blow this up a little bit so you can see it. Hopefully you can all see that. In this 10-minute session, I'm going to share a little bit about some of the things that we've been involved with in Indonesia over the last 12, 18 months. The projects that use technology, they do include exams and assessment, but they go beyond that to take in the whole learning ecosystem. So we're talking about whole school, whole institution solutions approach to English learning and assessment. But I'm going to start first by by sort of setting context. And the context I'm talking about is employability. And employability is something that's very much at the heart of what Pearson's thinking about in terms of how we help people to improve in their lives through learning. And it's something that we have done a lot of research externally about to sort of find out what employers are thinking about this as well. So what I want to do is start by sharing some of that research with you and think about that in the context that we're living in, this context of enormous change, of technological transformation, and how it's changing the way that we live and the way that we work and the way that we learn. So what are employers saying? Well, they're saying that the biggest threats are not the technological change that we're seeing. It's not competitor activity. It's actually accessing the right people with the right skills. And when we talk about the right skills, what are the key skills that they are saying that they've got this high demand for and this short supply in? Well, yes, there are technical skills. And I guess the thing with technical skills is they sort of come and go as the technology and the industry evolves. There is a big need around digital fluency, of course, but digital fluency is quite easy to measure. The biggest, most consistent gap they talk about is 21st century skills. So these are the soft skills. These are the human skills like creativity and collaboration and critical thinking. And then within that, what are the most critical employability skills that people are talking about? And what you see here is that it's communication. Communication comes up time and time again. So it's this idea of effective communication that I really want to cover in this session today. So what I want to show you is that when we're thinking about employability skills, English actually underpins all of those competencies. They can all funnel through the process of language acquisition. They're developed and they're enhanced in the process of language acquisition. So you think about the skills that are needed to learn and master a language: self-discipline, right? Time management, resilience. Think about social interaction and the importance that plays in learning a language. You know, you need at least two people to communicate. And then you've also got those unspoken communication. It's not enough to just understand what is said, but do you understand what has not been said? So cultural awareness, empathy, decoding those non-verbal signs, that all comes into play in the language learning process. Of course, it doesn't have to be English, but English is the language of business and the internet, does allow you to scale up the impact of the skills that people need to become employable. And it's not going to solve all your employability problems. You know, we're saying language is a necessary condition, but not a sufficient condition, which is a way of saying, you know, English on its own will not get you a job and make you employable, but the process of learning English language makes you more likely to be employable because you've learned all these other great skills that are in high demand in the language learning process. Okay, so the wonderful thing about this, when we think about what does it mean for learning, how do we put this in the classroom, how do we put this in the university, is technology has kind of totally changed the way that we approach this. We can do it in a much more integrated, systematic and scalable way. So if you look at that sort of learning journey, right? Placement, setting goals, understanding needs, understanding motivations, setting metrics and targets over time, running through the learning process, and constantly measuring and summative assessment, and then celebrating achievement of learning goals at the end of that process. This doesn't need digital. This is just kind of common sense, but digital completely changes the way that we can influence and accelerate the learning journey. The power, and I think Alan talked about this, the power of assessment to give us immediate diagnostics, data that you can use to make smarter decisions about how you understand the learning needs, where they are in their journey, and what they need to do next to improve. So this kind of concept is something that we've taken forward at Pearson, and this is our approach to learning ecosystems. So what I want to do now is show you how we've put this into practice with specific schools and colleges in Indonesia. So I'm going to have a go at pronouncing this one. I'm probably going to mess it up. Maithru Yowera School, which some of you will know is in Sumatra. They had a particular need as they internationalized their program, particularly in their upper school. They had a need to set benchmarks around language acquisition for streaming people onto the right programs and for supporting them so that they're ready to take internationalized exams and so forth towards the end of their learning journey. So we worked with them. We started off understanding what those goals were. We actually started off with teachers. So we baselined the teachers first, understand what their learning needs are and what their current levels of English were. Then we looked at the kind of support that they would need in terms of professional development. And then we've set up a framework so that we can deliver that professional development online, matched by our courseware, and at the right times to measure progress against those courses, but also against those target metrics they've set themselves for achievement. We did the same thing with the learner base. So we've kind of baselined the initial student population as well to understand exactly where they are right now, to understand where they would need to be to succeed in an English language international program where they're learning maths and science and so forth in an English first environment. And then configure the right learning pathway for those students to get them from where they are today to where they need to be tomorrow. As you can see, that started this year, and we baselined the students at grade 10 and set metrics for where they need to be into next year. We're rolling this out for the whole school across primary through to upper secondary, which is over 1,000 students. But this is an integrated solution. So all of the different component pieces here are speaking to their LMS, they're speaking to each other, and they're using a common framework. So obviously CEFAR is the first indicator we have, but we need to see beyond CEFAR. We need to extend that so we can see at a more granular level how people are doing and what they need. And we use something called the global scale of English to do that and to scaffold the entire program. Similar example now is with this university called Unparat, which you probably know is in Bandung. And similarly, they had goals around raising the overall quality of English in the system. They are looking at how they screen, because it's a very popular university. It's one of the largest private universities in that region. How do they screen people onto the right programs, both into minimum standards of entry for English, but also then once they're in, do they need English training? Do they not need English training? If they do need training, do they need to go into beginner classes, intermediate classes? Is it academic writing skills they need? Is it communication skills they need to focus on? So we baseline the population and we screen for enrollment. So we actually integrated this system into their recruitment workflow as well, not just their teaching LMS. We use a fully online adaptive online English program to support their teaching, especially remote and through homework assignments. It's great because it's got a hell of a lot of content. So whether they are interested in TOEFL preparation, or whether they're interested in academic writing, or whether they're interested in career pathways to nursing or hospitality industry, whatever it might be, there's 24,000 lessons in there that can all adapt to whatever the stated needs and goals are of those learners. Again, we set up course agnostic measurements. Yes, we can measure in the course how they're doing, but we want to know, can they actually put it into practice outside of the learning program? So we use something called benchmark tests to do that. And then finally, for learners who are exiting the program and they're thinking about work, they need a credential that is understood, used widely by corporations around the world to certificate against language proficiencies, particularly communicative language proficiency. That's the Versant test. It's used by companies like Amazon, by Deloitte. It's used by governments around the world to measure communicative proficiency for language. So really interesting. We've had over 7,000 learners so far go through the screening process into UNPA, and then placing them into the right courses. And now we're rolling out Pearson Online English to all of those learners who we've identified as being below the threshold level. So that's all I've got time for. You can hyperlink on, when we share the slides, you can hyperlink onto each of these product descriptions for Level or Benchmark or Versant to find out more. But obviously you can contact me, my colleague Prasasti Imani, some of you will know, is on the call, as is Jason Paulim. I can share those details separately. And I'd love to hear from you if there's anything you need around integrated English language solutions that are plug and play. We'd be delighted to work with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Stuart. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the second session of today, and we do not have time for Q&A from these three panelists today, but I would like to thank the speakers. Can I bring all of them back toward just for say thank you to Alan and James and also Stuart. So thank you so much. That concludes the second session of today and the last session of the entire UK-Indonesia English Partnership Series. Thank you so much, speakers. And thank you to the participants. We still have 163 attendees who are still with us until the end, and also to all of you who are following live on YouTube. Now, to end this three-day event, I would like to invite Hugh Moffat, British Council Indonesia Country Director, to give his closing remarks. So, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Hugh Moffat.
Selamat siang, sore, everyone. Hello, my name's Hugh. Thank you very much, Francis, for the introduction. I thought I'd better I haven't heard the chat about the batik. I'd better get my one batik shirt that I have on. Because I'm back here in Indonesia. If you have any recommendations, please do let me know where I should go. But there we go. Thank you very much for that. And thank you to everybody for today. Thank you for joining day 3 of this UK-Indonesia Partnership Series, jointly organised by the British Council and DIT. It's been fantastic to have so many people over the 3 days. And day 1, we had our international education champion, so Steve Smith. His role is to increase the connections between the UK and Indonesia in education, and English is absolutely critical to that. It's one of our 3 key areas: education, English and arts. These are the 3 things we connect Indonesia and the UK. So it's absolutely central to what we do. He joined us, but more importantly for us is the fact that we had from Kemdikbud, from the Ministry of Education, the Director General, Bapak Iwan Syarihil, the Teacher Professional Development joining. And I think that connection between the two, how do we collectively as the UK support Indonesia in improving the quality of English and building the connections between our 2 countries, it couldn't be better. So we've had a brilliant few days, and the connections and discussions on professional development resources and innovation has been fantastic. And we're very excited yesterday with Colm, of course, to launch our new UKID Digital Innovation Grants. And we're really looking forward to seeing the applications for English teachers in Indonesia at both school and university level. And the point here, I think, is that there's a lot we've heard, so much already going on, but there is still very specific needs that need to be identified. And we're still in this environment where we're all digital. And as you can see in the chat, there are still solutions out there that are needed. So we hope these grants will add to the amazing array of stuff. Thanks to all the UK and Indonesian speakers today and the last 3 days for sharing your experiences and your expertise in remote teaching, training and innovation. And that has been a really fantastic thing. We hope to keep this connection because, of course, we're virtual. One day, let's hope to try and get face to face. Wouldn't that be nice? I do remember the old days of ELT conferences where we had people together. But thanks to you also, all of you from around the country, from the different islands of Indonesia, for watching, and especially those English teachers all working at home or trying to work from home in Indonesia, or perhaps you're face to face too now. Many thanks for making that effort, and we hope that this has been helpful for you. Just to say again to ITEL, thank you too for hosting this event, being a great partner for us over so many years, and of course to our brilliant moderator Francis, who did such a cracking job. But lastly, I need to really recognise my best colleagues. I've been lucky to be working here in Indonesia with Colm, with Maria, Adi, Nando, our English team, who have been brilliant to bring this together. James, of course, from our teaching centre, everybody who there represents the British Council and is there to support English in Indonesia, backed up by our fabulous Afra from Com. So thank you to everybody who's made this such a success. Happy World Teachers' Day next Tuesday. You deserve it. You have been on the front line in this very difficult time. So I hope that we are now seeing the light and soon we can get back together. Back to you, Francis. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Hugh. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's it. UK-Indonesia English Partnership Series. We come to the end, and as Hugh mentioned, Happy World Teachers' Day. I would like to remind that there are future webinar series, 4 webinars in celebrating the World Teachers' Day. So I believe all have learned many new things, participants, speakers as well. I know I did. New ways to train teachers, new ways to teach English, and also innovations in assessment. As the theme is to work together on enhancing ELT capacity in Indonesia, let's work together between Indonesia and the UK. We're doing this together, we are learning together. And if you want to keep learning, please stay for the closing video. Make sure you check the information about all the events, the coming events for teachers, the webinars, and also 2 MOOCs, and of course, British Council and ITEL webinar series starting in October. So please stay for the closing video. And finally, it's time for me to say goodbye. Thank you so much for joining this event. It's been a pleasure moderating the session, and I would like to invite you to stay for the closing video. Let's continue learning, enhancing ELT capacity in Indonesia. you.